Imagine floating in an ocean so vast it dwarfs the stars, an invisible tide that makes up nearly 70% of all creation. We look up at the night sky and see only the glittering froth on the surface, completely blind to the staggering abyssal depths that surround our tiny island of light. This unseen current is the true master of the celestial arena, silently dictating the fate of every world we've ever known without ever revealing its face. If we were to look closer at the grandest scales of reality, we would witness a surreal and magnificent separation unfolding across the aeons. Giant clusters of galaxies, containing thousands of individual star cities and trillions of burning suns, are being smoothly pushed apart without a single sound or spark of friction. It is a breathtaking slow-motion choreography where the cosmic ballroom floor itself stretches, carrying the radiant dancers into an ever-widening, fathomless dark. Surprisingly, this relentless, invisible expansion does not end in chaotic fire or violent collapse, but rather in a profound and sprawling twilight. The distant glowing lanterns of the cosmos will eventually fade from view, leaving behind a perfectly tranquil spaciousness where the remnants of ancient stars find their absolute, final rest. A majestic, cooling silence waits patiently at the very edge of time, promising the entire universe an eternity of undisturbed, majestic peace. This cosmic structure may seem terrifyingly vast and incomprehensible to the waking mind, but tonight it serves simply as a grand lullaby written across the deep. As you lie here in the comfortable quiet of your room, the heavy, familiar forces of local nature form an impenetrable, protective bubble around your resting body. You are safe. Let your rhythmic breathing synchronize with the slow, ancient pulse of a universe that is forever growing and finding its ultimate beautiful calm. We're about to embark on a sweeping journey through the invisible sea that softly cradles the entirety of existence. Deep within the sprawling architecture of the cosmos, a profound and silent presence dictates the rhythm of reality. Deep within the sprawling architecture of the cosmos, a profound and silent presence dictates the rhythm of reality. We look up at the glittering tapestry of the night sky, mesmerized by the fierce burning of stars and the swirling majesty of ancient galaxies. Yet all of this radiant glory is merely a dusting of snow upon a vast, dark mountain. Nearly 70% of our entire universe consists of an invisible expanse that defies our conventional understanding of substance. It is a shadowy ocean, completely devoid of matter as we know it, yet pulsing with an undeniable hidden strength. As you drift beneath the surface of a quiet sea, feeling the weight and support of the water without seeing its individual drops, you begin to grasp the nature of this hidden majority. This unseen entity is the true master of the cosmic arena, dwarfing every star, planet, and nebula combined. We are merely floating upon its surface, unaware of the abyssal depths that stretch infinitely in every conceivable direction. It is a quiet behemoth, resting heavily within the fabric of space itself. Shrouded in an eternal, impenetrable stealth, this pervasive energy refuses to interact with the light that illuminates our universe. The most powerful telescopes, designed to catch the faintest whispers of ancient photons, gaze straight through it as if it were a flawless phantom. It casts no shadow, reflects no glimmer, and emits no radiant heat to betray its location in the freezing void. Picture sinking into the depths of a midnight ocean where the sun's rays have long since surrendered to the crushing dark. You're surrounded by a medium of immense power and volume, yet your eyes strain against a perfect, unbroken blackness. Such is the nature of this cosmic energy, an entity so entirely divorced from the electromagnetic spectrum that it remains eternally imperceptible to human vision. Photons from distant quasars travel for billions of years, passing straight through oceans of this hidden force without a single collision or deflection. It is the ultimate ghost of the cosmos, a perfectly transparent fluid filling the grandest scales of reality. We only know it is there because of the profound current it creates, dragging the visible universe along in its silent wake. If we were to look closer at the deepest voids of the cosmos, places seemingly stripped of all matter, we would not find true emptiness. The chilling expanses between distant star systems are actually overflowing with a restless, unseen vitality that defies our earthly intuition. Far from being a barren wasteland, the interstellar vacuum is a saturated sponge, heavily burdened with the weight of this invisible current. Consider the sensation of floating motionless in the centre of an endlessly deep, calm lake beneath a starless sky. Though you see nothing but dark water stretching toward the horizon, you can feel the subtle, undeniable pressure of the dense medium enveloping your body. In the exact same way, the absolute vacuum of outer space is fundamentally buoyant, completely saturated by an ambient energy that never sleeps. Imagine a primordial ocean of pure stillness, its surface a perfect, unbroken mirror stretching endlessly into an eternally unlit horizon. There are no cresting waves, no turbulent gravitational storms, and no sudden spatial currents to disturb the profound peace of its magnificent expanse. This cosmic sea remains utterly untouched by the howling solar winds or the explosive, violent fury of dying supernovae. It maintains a state of sublime equilibrium, a flawless and uniform distribution of dark energy that spans the entire breadth of the known universe. Drifting within this tranquil medium, you would feel a profound sense of absolute weightlessness, safely suspended in a boundless liquid silence. It is a realm of ultimate serenity, where the chaotic, destructive physics of normal matter simply cease to hold any meaningful influence. Yet, this perfect, unyielding calm is not a sign of weakness, but rather an expression of a supreme, uncontested dominance. The sheer, unfathomable volume of this placid ocean is more than enough to slowly overpower the fiery, frantic activity of the billions of galaxies that drift within it. It is the quiet stillness of the abyssal deep, a profound quietude that ultimately dictates the motion of everything resting upon its surface. Unlike the savage, crushing gravity of a supermassive black hole or the blinding, sudden detonation of a dying star, this unseen power possesses no inherent violence. It executes its grand cosmic design with a sweeping, unrelenting gentleness that entirely defies our dramatic expectations of the universe. Its chosen method is not one of explosive destruction, but rather of a slow, persistent and elegant stretching that takes aeons to fully register. This beautifully smooth operation requires no chaotic, fiery collisions and produces absolutely no brilliant, blinding flares of lethal radiation. It simply exists as a steady, ambient pressure that softly persuades ancient galaxy clusters to part ways over the course of billions of years. In the grand, sweeping symphony of the cosmos, it plays the longest and quietest note, a continuous, harmonious drone of expanding serenity. Surprisingly, the tangible universe we hold so dear is nothing more than a localized anomaly within the grand cosmic architecture. Every blazing sun, every rocky exoplanet, and every swirling cloud of stardust combined accounts for a mere 5% of existence. We are the exceptionally rare exception, a fleeting and fragile impurity suspended within an overwhelmingly dark and pervasive medium. To understand our place in the cosmos is to realize we are but sea foam resting on the surface of an unfathomably deep ocean. The vast, unseen waters below hold the true bulk of the universe's mass and energy, completely dwarfing our luminous shores. We cling to our tiny, glowing islands of ordinary matter, entirely surrounded by an alien, invisible sea that we can scarcely comprehend. The solid ground beneath your feet and the air filling your lungs represent a cosmic rounding error in the ultimate census of reality. The true essence of the universe is not found in the light, but in the overwhelming heavy darkness that cradles it. We are a beautiful, glowing afterthought in a cosmos built primarily of shadows. The architecture of the cosmos behaves remarkably like a boundless marine ecosystem, teeming with luminous islands. Brilliant galaxies containing hundreds of billions of stars are merely magnificent vessels adrift upon this invisible, expansive sea. They do not sail through empty space, but rather float suspended within the dense, unseen fluid of dark energy. Picture a sprawling archipelago of glowing coral reefs, separated by vast, intimidating stretches of deep, dark water. The water itself is what defines the space, shaping the distances and managing the currents that keep these fragile reefs apart. Dark energy acts as this fundamental medium, the very solvent in which the physical universe is gently dissolved and dispersed. Without this ubiquitous ocean, the majestic dance of galaxy clusters would grind to a chaotic, catastrophic halt. It is the silent water that buoys the heavy islands of matter, preventing them from violently collapsing under their own immense gravity. We're all passengers on these drifting shores, carried outward by the relentless tide of an invisible sea. In this very moment, a profound physical transformation is occurring right where you exist. You may be resting quietly in a chair, feeling the solid, reassuring anchor of Earth's gravity keeping you firmly in place. However, the seemingly static stage upon which your life plays out is actively expanding in every conceivable direction. Like a swimmer floating calmly on their back while the ocean tide imperceptibly carries them further from the shore, you are a participant in a grand, silent migration. The fabric of space weaving through your room, through your planet, and through our solar system is continuously stretching outward. It is a surreal paradox of cosmic proportions, absolute local stillness paired with aggressive universal expansion. The distance between our distant galactic neighbours is growing by the second, not because they are moving, but because more space is continually flowing into existence. You are perfectly motionless, yet bathed in a perpetual invisible current of creation. The universe is quietly slipping away from itself, expanding the infinite canvas right beneath your completely stationary feet. The greatest paradox of modern cosmology is our profound inability to directly witness the universe's most dominant feature. We possess instruments capable of capturing the birth of stars and the collision of black holes, yet they are utterly blind to this dark expanse. Lenses of polished glass and mirrors of gleaming beryllium offer absolutely no defense against its perfect, ghost-like transparency. Yet, much like observing the powerful, invisible currents of the deep ocean, by watching the graceful drift of kelp forests, we trace its existence through its undeniable effects. We map the hidden tides by measuring the precise way ancient galaxies are being softly pulled apart. Its signature is written not in light, but in the widening geometry of the cosmos itself. It is the unseen architect of tomorrow, quietly drafting the blueprints for a universe that will eventually fade into a cold, sprawling solitude. Though it evades every attempt at capture, its sweeping influence dictates the ultimate fate of every star that currently burns. We are flying blind through its waters, entirely at the mercy of a current we can only feel. Beneath the chaotic beauty of swirling nebulae and fiery stellar nurseries lies a silent structural framework of immense power. This unseen energy acts as a ubiquitous cosmic scaffolding, an invisible matrix embedded deeply within the very vacuum of space. It is a foundation built not of matter, but of a repulsive tension that pushes outward with smooth, relentless determination. Feel the sensation of a deep inhalation, your chest expanding smoothly and steadily from the pressure building within. The universe breathes in exactly this way, inflated from the inside out by the ambient pressure of this dark, pervasive ocean. It is an internal blossoming, a quiet swelling of space that gently forces the cosmic neighbourhood to stretch and thin. This hidden scaffold ensures the universe will never fall back upon itself, securing a future of infinite, peaceful expansion. It stands as a monument to the unseen, a grand and elegant mechanism driving the ultimate dispersal of reality. Suspended in this majestic, invisible sea, we are slowly, gracefully drifting toward a horizon that endlessly recedes. As we drift toward that endlessly receding horizon, a monumental tug-of-war plays out across the cosmic stage. For eons, the familiar force of gravity reigned supreme, relentlessly trying to pull all matter back into a dense, crushing embrace. It was a contracting grip, an inward pull that sought to bind every celestial body into a single, tightly woven tapestry. Standing in direct opposition to this condensing force is our unseen architect, acting as the ultimate cosmic counterweight. Dark energy serves as a profound repellent, fundamentally dedicated to pushing the very fabric of space apart. Where gravity seeks to unite and consolidate, this hidden power works tirelessly to isolate and expand, driving a wedge into the vacuum itself. This beautiful opposition creates a delicate, trembling balance between the desire to collapse and the mandate to scatter. It is a silent battle fought not with fiery impacts, but with the subtle manipulation of distance and geometry. The grand dispersal of reality is simply the result of this dark counterweight finally gaining the upper hand in an eternal contest. Picture holding two powerful magnets in your hands, orienting them so their identical poles directly face one another. As you bring them closer, you can physically feel a smooth, invisible barrier firmly resisting your effort. The opposing fields slip and slide against each other, creating a soft but undeniable repulsive cushion that insists on maintaining a respectful distance. You can relax your hands and simply let the natural repulsion do its work, watching the objects effortlessly drift apart. In the cosmic arena, this smooth separation requires no physical touch and leaves absolutely no destructive wake behind. It is a perfectly choreographed departure, driven by a deeply ingrained mandate for the cosmos to continually widen its personal space. Before this grand separation took control, the cosmos was a dramatically different environment, heavy with the momentum of its own fiery birth. Following the initial, unimaginable outward burst of creation, the cosmos spent billions of years caught in a dense, breathless deceleration. The sheer density of newly forged matter exerted a massive collective gravitational drag on the swelling boundaries of reality. Like a brilliantly thrown stone slowly losing its upward velocity against the persistent pull of the Earth, the cosmos was losing its initial steam. The universe was profoundly exhausted, its youthful expansion hindered by the sheer, condensing weight of its own crowded contents. For an incredibly long epoch, it seemed entirely possible that this grand outward journey would eventually grind to an absolute halt. During this heavy, sluggish era, galaxies were packed much tighter, casting their combined gravitational nets across relatively short cosmic distances. The dark counterweight was present, but its weak ambient pressure was entirely masked by the overwhelming proximity of such tremendous mass. Take a deep breath and feel the steady, rhythmic rise and fall of your chest, remaining perfectly anchored as you realize how drastically the distant cosmos shifted its gears. Deep within the timeline of our cosmic history, a monumental tipping point occurred completely unnoticed by the early stars. Approximately 5 billion years ago, the universe had stretched just enough to sufficiently dilute the collective grip of gravity. The immense distances between galactic neighborhoods finally weakened their mutual attraction to a critical, irreversible breaking point. It was at this precise juncture that the patient, ambient pressure of the void emerged from the background to claim absolute dominance. Dark energy finally overpowered the exhausted condensing forces, rising up to become the undisputed primary driver of the universe's fate. The cosmic tug-of-war was definitively decided, not by a sudden surge of power, but by the slow, inevitable fading of its opponent. The changing of the guard happened with utter tranquility, devoid of any cosmic fanfare or dramatic observable shifts in the night sky. The invisible tide simply swelled, smoothly taking the reins of creation, and charting a bold new course for all existing matter. From that quiet transition onward, the ultimate destiny of the cosmos was irreversibly bound to this triumphant, expanding dark sea. With gravity officially subdued, the lingering deceleration of the cosmos was smoothly replaced by a breathtaking new behaviour. Suddenly, the expansion of reality was no longer just coasting on ancient momentum, but actively gaining fresh speed. The universe began to accelerate outward in a slow, majestic sweep that redefined the very nature of cosmic evolution. Imagine a heavy train that has been coasting uphill, slowing down until it gracefully crests the peak and begins a long, smooth descent. It does not jerk or violently lurch forward, but rather gathers velocity with a steady, undeniable grace. The cosmos embarked on a similar descent into infinity, its boundaries racing outward with an ever-increasing fluid determination. Such a majestic sweep ensures that tomorrow's universe will always be vastly larger and more hurried than today's. The fabric of space-time is continually hitting the cosmic accelerator, compounding its own growth with every passing millennium. It is a stunning display of boundless power, cloaked entirely in the graceful elegance of a slow-motion departure. Surprisingly, the universe you woke up to this morning is fundamentally different from the one you inhabited just yesterday. Because of this relentless acceleration, the rate at which space stretches is constantly updating, always ticking upward in a steady progression. The void is actively compounding its own vastness, ensuring that the speed of separation is perpetually breaking its own records. Let your shoulders drop, releasing any lingering tension, and simply exist in the quiet stillness of your immediate surroundings. While your room remains wonderfully unchanged, the grand cosmic theatre outside is literally racing away faster right now than it was a mere heartbeat ago. You're witnessing a fleeting, unrepeatable snapshot of a universe that is constantly outrunning its own history. Consequently, the cosmic speedometer has no fixed limit, relentlessly climbing as the ages march silently forward. The sheer velocity of this stretching process is entirely beyond human comprehension, yet it dictates the future of every single celestial body. Yesterday's expansion is already obsolete, effortlessly surpassed by the profound, rushing growth of the present moment. Every single passing second forces a staggering amount of brand new space into existence between distant cosmic neighborhoods. This continuous creation of pure distance acts incredibly like the surface of a beautifully patterned balloon, inflating in extreme slow motion. As the breath of dark energy fills the void, the painted dots on the rubber simply find themselves further apart. The dots themselves are not sliding across the rubber. The material they are printed on is fundamentally growing beneath them. In the grand cosmic display, entire galaxies play the role of these ink spots, entirely unaware that their foundational canvas is actively swelling. The actual volume of reality is perpetually increasing, weaving fresh threads of nothingness into the widening gaps. The continuous inflation guarantees that the journey between neighbouring clusters becomes slightly longer with every tick of the clock. The balloon never pops, nor does it ever show signs of straining against the continuous influx of this unseen breath. It simply accepts the endless addition of space, stretching its beautiful dark canvas into an ever-expanding masterpiece. If we were to look closer at the mechanics of this phenomenon, we would find a breathtaking consistency that spans the entire cosmos. This gentle push does not originate from a single, chaotic epicenter, nor does it favour one specific direction over another. It happens absolutely everywhere at once, a perfectly uniform swelling that treats every cubic inch of the void with total equality. From the deepest, loneliest chasms between ancient superclusters to the quiet fringes of our own local group, the ambient pressure is identical. It is a masterclass in cosmic symmetry, ensuring that the grand acceleration remains flawlessly balanced across the incomprehensible vastness of space. There are no localized storms of extreme expansion, just a smooth, level tide lifting all celestial ships simultaneously. Such perfect uniformity brings a profound sense of mathematical peace to a universe otherwise defined by chaotic swirling gases and fiery collisions. The invisible architect works with unparalleled precision, applying the exact same outward force to every corner of the endless dark. It is a deeply comforting realization, knowing that the ultimate fate of reality is being guided by such a steady, impartial hand. The sheer mechanical effort required to stretch the entire universe should, by all terrestrial logic, generate an overwhelming cacophony of roaring energy. Yet this magnificent cosmic expansion is executed in a state of absolute, unbreakable silence. The stretching of space-time produces not even the faintest whisper, leaving the grandest physical transformation in existence entirely devoid of sound. A completely frictionless void ensures the accelerating departure is the most elegant, unimpeded motion ever to grace the physical world. It is a ghost-like machinery, operating at the absolute peak of thermodynamic perfection while entirely rewriting the geometry of the dark. The universe swells in a profound, hushed reverence, holding its breath as it steps gracefully into a larger tomorrow. As time ticks steadily onward, the ultimate consequence of this frictionless, silent push becomes beautifully apparent on the grandest scales. The once crowded neighbourhoods of the early cosmos are being methodically dismantled, transformed into profoundly isolated islands of glowing matter. The sprawling empty spaces between great galaxy clusters simply grow continuously wider, creating deep chasms of profound isolation. We are watching the slow, deliberate evaporation of the cosmic web as the unseen tide pulls the brightest structures ever further from one another. It is a gentle parting of ways, an endless farewell dictated by the relentless, expanding nature of the vacuum itself. The celestial bridges of gravity are being slowly stretched until they peacefully dissolve into the mounting dark. This widening geometry is the true legacy of our invisible architect, a slow-motion scattering that promises an eternity of tranquil separation. As the epochs roll by, the universe will continually trade its dense, chaotic brilliance for a sweeping, magnificent spaciousness. We are all passengers on a one-way journey into the deep, carried softly outward on a tide that will never return. As we drift softly outward on this one-way journey into the deep, a profound misconception often clouds our fundamental understanding of the cosmic voyage. When we observe the distant, glittering islands of the cosmos receding into the shadows, our terrestrial instincts automatically assume they are physically flying through the empty void. We inherently picture these massive celestial structures hurtling across the eternal night like brilliantly illuminated projectiles fired from an impossibly large ancient cannon. In reality, these distant majestic pinwheels possess almost no true, inherent velocity of their own relative to the chilling cosmic background immediately surrounding them. The staggering, incomprehensible speeds meticulously recorded by our grandest observatories are an elaborate, continuous illusion created by the intervening medium, not the objects themselves. These colossal collections of glowing matter are not actively racing away from us under their own physical propulsion or residual momentum. Rather, they sit beautifully and perfectly stationary within their own localized quiet pockets of the great dark ocean. The immense roaring kinetic energy we intuitively attribute to their apparent high-speed flight simply does not exist in any tangible physical sense. They are completely motionless travelers, participating in the fastest and most dramatic journey in existence, without ever taking a single active step through the darkness. If we were to look closer at the underlying mechanics of this departure, the true nature of the separation reveals itself as a sweeping of the stage beneath the actors. The foundational fabric of space-time itself is actively stretching out in all conceivable directions, widening the absolute distance between completely stationary points. It is not the dense matter that is migrating, but the incredibly vast emptiness separating the matter that is perpetually multiplying its own dark volume. envision a slow-moving, intensely quiet river gently carrying a collection of delicate fallen autumn leaves upon its glassy, undisturbed surface. The colourful leaves expend absolutely no internal effort to travel, remaining perfectly at rest relative to the cool water immediately enveloping them. Yet, as the river mysteriously widens and flows, the individual leaves find themselves drifting ever further apart from one another. Entire galaxies, containing hundreds of billions of heavy stars, are gracefully swept along for the ride by this continuous, unseen creation of profound distance. They are merely resting like silent passengers on a cosmic treadmill of nothingness that perpetually lengthens its own dark belt. The apparent flight of the cosmos is entirely driven by the ground swelling beneath it, a majestic stretching that demands absolutely zero movement from its celestial captives. Despite this grand, universal stretching fundamentally rewriting the coordinates of the wider cosmos, the localized haven we call home remains blissfully insulated from the tear. Our own glowing spiral city, a majestic swirling disk of dust and ancient light, is comfortably held perfectly intact by the familiar, binding strength of its own local gravity. The immense mass of our galactic neighbourhood acts as a profound structural anchor, entirely immune to the gentle, persuasive tug of the widening void. Here, in the dense, brightly lit metropolitan heart of a galaxy, matter is packed tightly enough to firmly lock the underlying fabric of space rigidly in place. The local gravitational well is overwhelmingly deep and powerful, completely overriding the weak, ambient and highly dispersed pressure of the dark outward current. Our local environment refuses to yield to the stretching, standing firm as a beautifully stable island in an increasingly turbulent and widening sea. Allow your breathing to match the slow, steady rhythm of your resting heart, completely secure and grounded in your present physical space. In exactly this tranquil manner, our galactic neighbourhood sits perfectly secure and unbothered, blissfully ignorant of the sweeping expansion dissolving the wider cosmos. We are safely cocooned within an invisible fortress of gravity, preserving our local stellar relationships for unimaginable aeons to come. This robust, localized immunity extends incredibly deep, down into the very delicate architecture of our own immediate cosmic backyard. The celestial clockwork dance of terrestrial planets orbiting safely around their central burning stars continues with absolute, undisturbed mathematical precision. The relentless outward tide of the dark vacuum possesses no mechanism to disrupt the tight, intimate embrace of a beautifully balanced orbital system. The dark repellent entirely lacks the concentrated, localized power required to interfere with the deeply entrenched ancient gravitational bonds of a functioning solar system. Moons remain securely and eternally tethered to the skies of their massive host worlds, tracing their elliptical paths without the slightest hint of spatial distortion. Giant gas planets and tiny rocky spheres alike maintain their faithful, incredibly stable circuits, completely sheltered from the grand cosmic push stretching the distant horizon. We are profoundly protected by these local laws of physics, residing in a brilliantly fortified bubble of absolutely stable, unwavering geometry. The heavy, invisible forces that strongly bind the solid rock deep beneath your feet and secure the breathable atmosphere above your head are infinitely stronger than the subtle, creeping stretching of the vast void. This immense, stretching power only rules the truly empty spaces, leaving the beautiful, intricate machinery of stellar life perfectly intact and completely unharmed. To truly witness the majestic, relentless expansion of the cosmic canvas, we must cast our observational gaze far beyond the protective gravitational harbours of ordinary matter. The unseen architect only successfully wields its completely transformative power in the incredibly vast, desolate and hauntingly empty stretches lying between isolated galaxy clusters. In these profoundly deep chasms of absolute nothingness, the localized condensing influence of ordinary mass is finally diluted down to a completely ineffective whisper. Unopposed by any competing forces and utterly dominant in its isolation, the dark ambient pressure reigns perfectly supreme over these immense, unfathomably barren gulfs. Without the heavy, comforting anchor of billions of stars to hold the fabric tight, the vacuum is completely free to enthusiastically multiply its own dark volume. It is within these unimaginably large pockets of cosmic desert that the universe is aggressively being driven apart. These incredibly lonely expanses serve as the true, unseen engine rooms of the stretching cosmos, actively swelling and driving the distant glowing shores permanently away from one another. The sheer, terrifying volume of this pristine nothingness guarantees that the total, absolute amount of space within the entire universe continuously and dramatically multiplies. The greatest, most powerful physical changes occurring in reality happen exclusively in the places where absolutely nothing exists. Unlike a physical terrestrial object moving forward into a pre-existing waiting territory, the grand universe is not expanding into an empty external container. The foundational canvas of reality itself is actively growing larger, forging entirely new physical room where absolutely nothing, not even pure dimension, existed a mere moment prior. It is an act of spontaneous, continuous generation of distance, a profound cosmological magic trick that weaves fresh, functional geometry directly out of the dark. Shift your weight slightly in your chair and feel the physical, restrictive boundaries of your immediate environment gently, firmly pushing back against you. The sweeping cosmos entirely lacks these rigid, limiting borders, endlessly and effortlessly generating the very theatre it occupies in a continuous, hushed act of silent, mathematical creation. It simply makes more of itself, widening the gaps between the islands without ever needing to discover new oceans to fill. Notice how a thick rubber band securely holding a piece of soft, heavily painted fabric behaves when you slowly, deliberately pull your hands perfectly apart. The vibrant pigment deeply soaked into the flexible material does not magically slide across the surface. Rather, the colourful image itself becomes completely elongated and severely distorted. The very fundamental structure of the stretched canvas forcefully carries the thick ink along with it, spreading the original tight design over a significantly wider area. A highly condensed, intensely clustered pattern is effortlessly transformed into a broad, sweeping and diluted illustration without anyone adding a single drop of new colour to the material. The original amount of paint must now quietly cover a dramatically larger territory, causing the entire picture to thin out and lose its concentrated visual intensity. The physical contents of the deep void behave exactly like this stubbornly embedded ink, hopelessly and permanently bound to the stretching, invisible material of expanding space-time. As the dark, unseen vacuum relentlessly swells, the grand cosmic architecture is forcibly pulled into increasingly vast, incredibly isolated and highly diluted physical arrangements. The magnificent clusters of matter are the paint on the universal fabric, completely unable to resist the smooth, powerful widening of the foundational layer they rest upon. We're all securely fastened to a tapestry that refuses to stop unravelling. This relentless, invisible stretching of the celestial canvas does not merely separate the heavy, glowing islands of matter. It physically and permanently alters the delicate, ancient messages they send across the dark. As faint light embarks on its terrifying billion-year journey across the void, it is forced to continuously traverse a completely unstable medium that is actively expanding rapidly beneath it. The travelling photon cannot escape the shifting ground, experiencing a profound geometrical distortion that affects its very nature as it flies through the silent expanse. The fundamental waves of electromagnetic radiation are inevitably caught in the grand tug-of-war, their distinct crests and troughs smoothly pulled further apart by the deeply swelling void. A tight, highly energetic and rapidly oscillating wave is slowly, painfully unspooled into a long, languid and exhausted ripple over the course of its incredibly lonely intergalactic voyage. The universe literally stretches the flying light like a physical piece of string, sapping its original vibrant energetic intensity through the sheer, inescapable friction of widening infinite space. The ancient travelling photon eventually arrives at its final distant destination fundamentally exhausted, deeply transformed, and entirely reshaped by the treacherous growing medium it was forced to travel through. It carries the undeniable physical scars of the stretching void, silently bearing witness to the immense invisible swelling of the deep dark. These stretched signals are the fading whispers of an incredibly distant, rapidly departing past. This gradual, physical elongation of travelling, ancient radiation produces a truly stunning and highly revealing visual consequence for anyone patiently watching the incredibly deep night sky. As the energetic wave of light is relentlessly drawn out by the expanding fabric, its inherent perceived colour shifts dramatically and permanently toward the cooler, lower energy end of the visible spectrum. The physical lengthening of the photon stride entirely alters how our terrestrial instruments interpret its vibrant ancient message when it finally reaches our waiting lenses. What may have originally violently erupted as a brilliant piercing flash of intense blue starlight is ultimately received billions of years later as a soft, deeply crimson, glowing ember. This beautiful phenomenon, born entirely of the relentless expanding canvas, gently bathes the deepest, oldest reaches of the cosmos in a magnificent invisible ruby hue. The oldest light in existence has been stretched so severely that it has completely slipped past the boundaries of our natural vision, glowing warmly in the deep infrared. Unlocking the mathematical secret of this severely reddened light provided brilliant astronomers with the ultimate, indisputable key to accurately measure the silent, invisible growth of space. By meticulously analysing the precise exact shade of this ancient crimson shift, we can perfectly and confidently calculate exactly how much the fundamental canvas has stretched during the light's long journey. It is a stunning cosmic speedometer painted in the fading colours of exhausted starlight. The entire cosmological process unfolds continuously, with a breathtaking, almost terrifying elegance, entirely devoid of tearing structural seams or ragged, broken cosmic edges. The foundational fabric of reality remains flawlessly and perfectly smooth, seamlessly weaving entirely new threads of space into existence every single passing moment of the long night. There are no sudden ruptures or violent spatial earthquakes, just a quiet, majestic addition of pure geometry that flawlessly integrates into the existing dark tapestry. Feel the cool, solid surface of the object currently resting directly beneath your fingertips, a highly reassuring, tangible testament to the absolute stability of local, bound matter. Yet, far away in the deepest, most unfathomable oceans of the cosmos, the dark repellent is actively working a massive invisible loom, inserting millions of new miles of nothingness without dropping a single frayed thread. It is a completely pristine fabrication, generating endless stretches of perfect vacuum that blend completely invisibly into the ancient void. This continuous, absolutely immaculate manufacturing process ensures that the accelerating, expanding universe always remains a perfect, unbroken continuum of profound darkness. It is an endless, deeply quiet production line of pure distance, absolutely guaranteeing that the grand cosmic canvas will never, ever run out of room to endlessly grow. The dark loom works tirelessly in the deepest shadows, smoothly weaving the vast, empty future of our majestic, fading universe. Before the majestic, fading universe reached its current state of sprawling solitude, there existed an epoch defined by a frantic, white-hot density that defies our modern understanding of a vacuum. This was a time long before the first spark of starlight could pierce the gloom, as the entire cosmos was a roiling, opaque sea of agitated particles. Light itself was a prisoner within this primordial soup, unable to travel more than a fraction of an inch before being violently scattered by a thick fog of high-energy electrons and nuclei. It was a singular, high-energy embrace where everything was fused together in a brilliant, terrifying glow that filled every corner of existence. Imagine being submerged in a luminescent golden mist that is so thick and energized it vibrates against your very essence with a relentless intensity. There was no empty space to speak of during this era, as the volume of the universe was saturated with a restless, glowing pressure that made the void itself feel heavy and occupied. This period represents the raw, unrefined energy of creation, an embryonic chaos that held the potential for every galaxy that would eventually drift through the dark. It was a magnificent, albeit crowded, beginning that set the stage for the grand, silent expansion that would eventually cool the fires of the infant cosmos. Eventually, as the universe stretched under its own immense internal pressure, the heat began to subside and the thick fog started to thin into a state of transparency. The particles slowed their frantic dance just enough for the first photons to finally break free from their eternal cycle of scattering. This moment of liberation marked the birth of cosmic clarity, allowing the first whispers of ancient light to begin their long, lonely journey across the cooling void. Surprisingly, the ghost of that white-hot era still permeates every single inch of the modern cosmos, clinging to the fabric of reality like a fading memory of a distant fire. As the universe continued its majestic stretching, the brilliant light released at the dawn of transparency was slowly but relentlessly drawn out by the expanding void. Over billions of years, this once piercing radiance has been cooled and elongated until it now exists as a faint, soothing hum of microwave energy. It is an omnipresent, gentle glow that bathes the entire sky in a perfectly uniform temperature, invisible to our human eyes but crystal clear to our most sensitive instruments. Tuning into this signal is remarkably like hearing the quiet, rhythmic breath of the universe as it sleeps in the deep, undisturbed dark of the intergalactic chasm. If we could see in the microwave spectrum, the night sky would not be black, but would instead glow with a soft, persistent light coming from every direction simultaneously. This is the cosmic microwave background, a direct snapshot of the universe as it appeared nearly 14 billion years ago. It is the oldest light in existence, a fossilized remains of the primordial fire that has been travelling since the stars were merely a distant possibility. Every time you feel the faint warmth of a distant signal, or hear the static between stations on an old radio, you are brushing against the edges of this ancient reality. This pervasive glow is the ultimate evidence of our shared origin, a quiet reminder that the entire universe was once a single, unified point of brilliant energy. It provides a foundational layer of warmth that prevents the deep void from ever reaching a state of absolute, freezing nothingness. Deep within the subtle, granular fluctuations of this ancient microwave glow, a precise cosmic recipe was meticulously hidden for eons from any wandering eye. By carefully mapping the incredibly tiny temperature variations across the entire celestial sphere, we have successfully reconstructed the exact list of ingredients that make up our reality. Each minute ripple and wave in the background light tells a specific story of how matter, light, and hidden energy were distributed in the cradle of time. It is a mathematical blueprint of creation, revealing that the universe is composed of far more than just the visible brilliance of distant suns. This ancient map provides the ultimate context for the modern world, showing us how the massive structures of today grew from the smallest seeds of the past. When we analyse the peaks and troughs of these temperature signals, we are looking at the very DNA of the cosmos as it was first being woven. It reveals a universe that is precisely tuned, where every percentage of dark energy and matter plays a vital role in the overall stability of space. We are no longer guessing about the contents of the void, we are reading the manifest of the cosmic voyage. Mapping this light has transformed our understanding of the dark, showing us that the invisible majority of the universe is not a chaotic mess, but a highly organized system. The data reveals a majestic consistency, where the same rules that governed the infant universe continue to dictate the behavior of the expanding canvas today. It is a profound realization that the entire history of existence is encoded in a gentle, persistent whisper of light that has traveled across the sea of time. This structural blueprint eventually revealed a startling and profound gap in our initial understanding of the cosmic balance that keeps the stars in their place. When astronomers carefully tallied up the total mass of all visible stars and the invisible gravitational influence of dark matter, the numbers simply refused to align with the observed geometry of the sky. A massive, unseen component was absolutely required to satisfy the elegant equations that govern the universe's expansion and its overall shape. Dark energy emerged not as a mere theory, but as the critical missing ingredient needed to make the entire cosmic account balance perfectly. Without this immense hidden pressure, the very physics of the early universe would fail to explain the flat, expansive world we inhabit today. This invisible weight accounts for nearly 70% of the universe's total density, acting as the silent benefactor that allows the cosmos to grow without collapsing inward. It is the ultimate cosmic stabilizer, ensuring that the tension between inward gravity and outward expansion remains in a state of beautiful, productive equilibrium. We discovered its presence by noticing what was not there, finding the most powerful force in existence hidden in the blank spaces of our equations. The realization that such a vast portion of the universe's recipe is made of this dark, repelling energy brought a sense of completion to our model of the stars. It filled the void in our knowledge with a presence that is as real as the ground beneath your feet, even if it remains perpetually out of sight. This discovery turned the missing energy into a foundational pillar of modern science, a quiet force that keeps the entire universe from tilting out of its geometric balance. Surprisingly, the resulting geometry of the universe reveals a shape that is almost impossibly and perfectly flat across its entire vastness. This does not imply that the cosmos exists as a two-dimensional sheet, but rather that its overall curvature is zero across the grandest possible scales of observation. Such a delicate state of spatial perfection requires a very precise amount of total energy density to prevent space from warping inward like a closed sphere or outward like a saddle. Dark energy provides the exact amount of hidden pressure needed to keep the universal canvas perfectly taut and straight throughout the billions of years of its existence. If the density of the vacuum were even slightly different, the very nature of light and distance would be fundamentally altered by the curvature of the void. A flat universe represents a state of ultimate geometric purity, where the laws of mathematics translate into the physical world with flawless accuracy. It is the only shape that allows for an infinite expansion that never repeats or collapses back onto its own fiery beginning. Dark energy acts as the unseen tensioner, pulling the fabric of space-time into this majestic, linear state of grace. This geometric stability is what allows the universe to be a predictable and reliable home for the complex structures of life and matter. In a warped universe, the very coordinates of space would shift in ways that would make the long-term stability of solar systems much more precarious. Instead, we reside within a perfectly balanced framework, a masterpiece of spatial engineering that remains flat and true even as it grows larger. It is a quiet, mathematical triumph that underpins every moment of our existence as we drift through the deep. If we were to look closer at the behavior of light in such a pristine and flat environment, we would witness a profound display of linear order. In a universe with zero overall curvature, two parallel beams of light launched into the deep void will travel side by side across billions of light years without ever converging or drifting apart. They maintain a constant, unwavering distance from one another, never crossing paths or curving away regardless of how long their lonely journey through the darkness lasts. This geometric truth is a direct and beautiful consequence of the hidden balance maintained by the dark repellent throughout the entire vacuum. On the curved surface of a sphere like our own Earth, two parallel lines will eventually meet at the poles, but in the grand theatre of the cosmos, they remain eternally separate. This suggests that the universe has no poles or edges that force space to wrap back around on itself in a closed and restrictive loop. The light simply travels forward in a straight, true line, forever tracing the perfectly flat architecture of the expanding canvas. It is a testament to the quiet mathematical stability that underlies the apparent chaos of the swirling stars and gas clouds. This linear perfection offers a sense of infinite possibility, where the path forward is always clear and unwarped by the weight of the void. Light can travel for trillions of miles and still remain as straight as a laser beam on a clear night, never losing its way in a tangled web of curved space. It is a beautiful, simple rule that governs the most complex system imaginable, providing a sense of geometric peace to the heart of reality as it unfolds. This elegant and predictable geometry brings a profound sense of calm order to a cosmos that often appears violent and unpredictable from our small perspective. While stars explode in blinding flares and black holes collide in localized storms of energy, the overall structure of space remains beautifully serene and undisturbed. The underlying flatness ensures that the grandest laws of physics operate with a consistency and reliability that spans the entire incomprehensible breadth of reality. We exist within a framework of ultimate structural reliability, where the very dimensions of space are held in a state of tranquil equilibrium. Even as the universe expands and galaxies move further apart, the fundamental order of the canvas remains entirely unchanged and pristine. The expansion does not tear or distort the underlying rules, but merely creates more room for them to manifest their elegant symmetry. It is a universe built on a foundation of peace, where the grandest forces in existence work together to maintain a state of perfect, geometric grace for all of time. Long before the era of light began, a period of unimaginably rapid and violent expansion smoothed out any potential wrinkles in the fabric of the young reality. This early burst of growth stretched the universe so completely and so quickly that any initial imperfections were effectively ironed into absolute oblivion. Much like the surface of a rapidly inflating balloon becomes flawlessly smooth and uniform, the cosmic canvas was rendered into a beautifully pristine state of geometric perfection. This process, known as inflation, ensured that the distribution of energy remained incredibly consistent across the vastness of the infinite void. Without this early smoothing, the universe today would likely be a jagged and uneven landscape of high-density clumps and deep, empty chasms. Instead, we see a cosmos that is remarkably uniform in every direction we look, a direct legacy of that initial majestic stretching that defined the early void. It left behind a perfect, unblemished foundation, allowing the universe to grow into the orderly and balanced masterpiece we observe with our telescopes today. The dark energy that drives our current expansion is a much gentler cousin to this ancient, powerful force that first shaped the vacuum. This pristine beginning means that no matter where you travel in the universe, the fundamental laws and the distribution of matter will look essentially the same. The wrinkles were smoothed away before the first particles even had a chance to settle into their roles, leaving a clean slate for the story of life to unfold. It is a beautiful, silent beginning that gave the universe its characteristic sense of balance and its vast, open potential for infinite growth. We can still detect the faint and lingering fingerprints of dark energy in the precise way ancient light interacts with the most massive structures in the sky. As photons from the early universe travel toward our waiting lenses, they are subtly deflected and warped by the gravity of distant, invisible clouds of dark matter. However, the presence of the expanding dark tide slightly alters this bending process, leaving a unique and identifiable signature on the light's final, weary path. These delicate distortions serve as a direct and undeniable measurement of how the hidden push of the vacuum has evolved over the billions of years of its operation. By studying these gravitational lenses, astronomers can essentially see the invisible scaffolding of the universe, and how it is being pushed apart by the dark sea. It is like looking at a distant light through a piece of textured glass and using the distortion to understand the shape of the glass itself. Dark energy leaves a subtle, characteristic stretch on these images, a quiet visual record of a force that refuses to reveal itself through direct light or heat. We are learning to read the shadows to understand the light, finding evidence of the universe's greatest secret in the most delicate of visual cues. These fingerprints prove that dark energy is not a static background, but an active participant in the ongoing transformation of the cosmic canvas. It influences the very path that light takes to reach us, subtly guiding the messages of the past as they fly through the modern void. Even the most distant and ancient signals are touched by this unseen hand, bearing witness to the relentless growth of the space between the stars and the galaxies. In the end, these cosmic whispers from the dawn of time tell a story of a universe guided not by random chance, but by unseen and harmonious rules. Every single detail of the expanding canvas, from the temperature of the background glow to the perfect flatness of space, points toward a deeply integrated and elegant system. Dark energy acts as the silent conductor of this immense symphony, ensuring that the grand dispersal of matter follows a precise and beautiful mathematical script. We are living participants in a masterpiece of expansion, where even the darkest shadows play a vital role in maintaining the cosmic balance. This hidden guidance ensures that the dark is not a source of confusion, but the very medium through which the harmonious rules of the universe are most clearly expressed. It provides the space for the stars to shine, and the room for the canvas to grow without ever losing its fundamental geometric soul. We look into the deep night and find not a cold emptiness, but a universe working in perfect, quiet accord with itself as it drifts through time. As the universe drifts through time, it organizes its visible treasures into the most massive congregations imaginable. Giant clusters of galaxies, containing thousands of individual star cities and trillions of suns, represent the absolute zenith of structural complexity in the known world. These are the largest entities in the cosmos, still firmly held together by the ancient, familiar tether of gravity, acting as the heavy anchors of the celestial landscape. They sit as majestic citadels of light, resisting the chaos of the void by pulling everything in their immediate vicinity into a dense, swirling collective. Within these clusters, the sheer concentration of mass creates a gravitational environment so intense that it can warp the very light passing through its heart. Thousands of galaxies orbit a common center in a slow, ponderous swarm, their motions dictated by the invisible influence of dark matter and the brilliant glow of stellar gases. Each cluster is a testament to the power of unity, a sanctuary where gravity has successfully built a permanent home for matter to thrive. They serve as the grandest stages for the cosmic drama, where the history of the universe is written in the movement of billions of stars. Despite the relentless expansion happening elsewhere, these giants stand as defiant monuments to the power of attraction and localized stability. Surprisingly, even these gargantuan structures cannot escape the subtle influence of the invisible sea they reside within. Dark energy acts as the silent, unseen partner in a grand choreography, determining the ultimate distance that must exist between these massive galactic neighborhoods. It is the arbiter of the void, deciding exactly how far apart the dancers must move as the music of universal expansion plays on through the aeons. While gravity maintains the internal integrity of each cluster, it is powerless to stop the widening gaps that push the clusters away from one another. This relationship is a masterclass in cosmic cooperation, where two opposing forces define the boundaries and the movement of the entire sky. Dark energy ensures that the universe never becomes a single overcrowded point of density, while gravity ensures that matter does not simply dissolve into a featureless mist. It is an invisible hands-off policy, where the dark force provides the room and gravity provides the form. We are witnessing a delicate negotiation at the highest level of physics, a silent agreement that determines the layout of the stars. This partnership ensures that the dance continues without end, as the ballroom grows larger while the dancers keep their time. Imagine a grand ballroom where the floor itself is made of a strange living material that is slowly and steadily growing larger with every passing second. The dancers, clustered into intimate groups of partners, remain locked in their graceful, close embrace, entirely unaffected by the floor's expansion. They do not feel their own bodies being pulled apart, as the strength of their connection is far greater than the gentle stretching of the boards beneath their feet. While their internal rhythm remains constant and their proximity remains secure, the space between the separate groups of couples begins to widen with every passing note of the waltz. The couples toward the far end of the room seem to be drifting away, not because they are walking, but because the floor is manufacturing new surface area between the groups. It is a surreal and hypnotic sight, a gathering where everyone stays put yet everyone grows more distant. This is the ultimate metaphor for our galactic clusters, which remain internally stable while the intergalactic vacuum swells. The floor of the universe is the dark energy itself, a foundation that is perpetually adding to its own dimensions. We are part of one such group of dancers, holding tightly to our neighbouring galaxies while the rest of the ballroom expands into the infinite dark. As billions of years of cosmic history unfold, the distance between these majestic clusters grows so vast that they eventually glide out of each other's perspective. The light from a neighbouring group, once a bright and present companion in the night sky, must travel through a gap that is widening faster than the photons can fly. One by one, the distant lanterns of the cosmic ballroom dim and disappear behind an ever-growing horizon of darkness. It is a slow and graceful fading, an exit from the visible world that takes an eternity to complete, but is fundamentally irreversible. The clusters do not vanish because they have burned out, but because the bridge of space between us has become too long to cross. The expansion of the void eventually outpaces the speed of light, effectively severing the visual ties that once linked the different corners of reality. Future observers will look out into a sky that seems far emptier than our own, as the neighbours we see today slip into the unobservable deep. This glide is the ultimate expression of the dark energy's victory over the long-distance reach of gravity. It is a quiet departure, a cosmic farewell that leaves the universe more spacious and more solitary than ever before. Feel the weight of your limbs sinking into your seat, a small anchor of physical reality amidst the staggering scale of the retreating stars. Eventually, many of the great galaxy clusters will find themselves transformed into lonely glowing islands, adrift in a truly endless ocean of dark energy. The connections that once linked the various corners of the visible universe are being methodically severed by the expansion of the void. Each cluster will become a closed system, a self-contained universe of stars that has lost all contact with the rest of creation. In this future state of isolation, the night sky will be dominated by the light of only the most immediate neighbours, while the rest of the cosmos remains a silent, empty blackness. The grand dispersal will reach its logical conclusion, leaving these massive galactic families to age and evolve in total solitude. It is a vision of ultimate peace, a universe that has found its final resting place in a state of tranquil, spacious repose. The lonely islands will continue to shine for trillions of years, drifting through a dark sea that has no shore and no end. This is the destiny dictated by the dark push, a slow transition from a crowded metropolis to a collection of quiet, isolated villages. This structure provides a unique sanctuary for those fortunate enough to be bound within a local family of galaxies, protected by the density of their own collective mass. Our own immediate neighbourhood, the local group, remains a tight-knit community where the gravitational bond is strong enough to resist the persistent, outward push of the vacuum. Within these small clusters, the stars and galaxies continue to swirl in their luminous embrace, protected from the isolation that defines the wider cosmos. The expansion of the universe is a force that only truly rules the empty spaces, leaving the crowded hubs of matter to maintain their ancient relationships. Our future merged galaxy will be a massive, glowing city of stars, a permanent refuge from the growing void that surrounds us. While the distant superclusters are swept away by the dark current, our local family will stay together, sharing the same pocket of space for the rest of time. This localized stability is a beautiful counterpoint to the grand dispersal, a reminder that the universe still honors the intimacy of close connections. We're not being pulled apart from our closest celestial neighbors. We're being carried together as a single unit through the expanding dark. This ensures that the night sky will never be truly empty for those within the cluster, as the light of our sisters will always be there to guide us. If we were to look closer at the grandest scale of all, we would see a vast, shimmering network known as the cosmic web, the foundational skeletal structure of the entire universe. This structure is being gently stretched and thinned as the dark energy within the great void swells to occupy more of reality. The filaments of gas and dark matter that once bridged the gaps between clusters are being pulled taut, like a soft fabric reaching its limit before it begins to unravel. The web is the roadmap of matter, a delicate latticework that connects the bright hubs of galaxies across the terrifying emptiness of the void. As the expansion accelerates, these bridges are becoming longer and more tenuous, as the material within them is pulled toward the dense clusters or lost to the growing vacuum. The great voids are like rising bubbles in a thick dough, pushing the filaments further apart and thinning the connections that have existed since the beginning of time. It is a slow-motion evaporation of the universe's primary structure, a transition from a dense web to a collection of isolated points. The dark energy is the force that fills the bubbles, expanding the empty spaces and forcing the cosmic web to change its shape. We are witnessing the maturation of the universe's geometry as it moves from a crowded infancy to a spacious and elegant adulthood. This slow-motion choreography is an epic that takes billions of years to reach even its most subtle transitions, far beyond the scope of human understanding. Allow your body to fully relax, feeling the slow and steady rhythm of your breath as a mirror to the unhurried pace of the expanding stars. This timeline offers us a profound sense of deep time, a window into a scale of existence where the life of a single star is merely a fleeting spark in a long evening. The patience of the universe is absolute, as it allows the dark current to move its massive pieces across the board with unhurried precision. In the time it takes for a single galaxy to drift a noticeable distance from its neighbour, entire civilizations can rise and fall on the planets within them. We are watching a movie that plays at the rate of one frame every million years, a masterpiece of motion that requires the perspective of aeons to truly appreciate. The dark energy does not rush its work, for it has the entirety of the future to complete its grand design. This deep time brings a sense of serenity to the study of the cosmos, as we realize that the changes we observe are part of a stable and enduring process. The universe is a slow and careful builder, taking its time to craft the perfect geometry of the void. We live at a time when the density of matter and the density of dark energy are roughly comparable, a rare cosmic coincidence that defines our perspective on the sky. In the distant past, gravity was the dominant ruler, and in the far future, dark energy will reign supreme over an empty dark. But now, in the present, we see the two forces in a magnificent, visible struggle that creates the beautiful diversity of the cosmos. This balance is what allows the cosmic web to still exist, while the expansion is clearly underway, providing a rich and detailed landscape for us to explore. It is a golden age for astronomy, a moment when the secrets of both the light and the dark are laid bare before our eyes. The tension between the pull and the push is the heartbeat of the modern universe, a pulse that sustains the current architecture of the stars. Notice how peering through a telescope into the deepest reaches of space feels remarkably like looking into a deep, tranquil pond on a perfectly still night. The galaxies are like colourful pebbles resting at the bottom of a dark, crystalline medium, that is moving with a slow and steady current. It is a vision of ultimate peace, where the grandest dispersal in history is revealed as a beautiful rhythmic dance through the dark rather than a chaotic flight. The silence of the void and the slow movement of the clusters create a sense of profound stillness that permeates the entire observational experience. When we look at the distant light, we are not seeing a universe in turmoil, but a universe that is gracefully finding its place in an infinite expanse. The dark energy is the clear water of the pond, the invisible substance that carries the weight of the stars and manages their graceful drift. Every observation is an invitation to step away from the noise of our small world and enter a realm of absolute cosmic quietude. The tranquility of the expanding universe is its most surprising quality, a reminder that the greatest power in existence works with the softest of touches. As we watch this grand dance, we find ourselves part of a larger harmony, a cosmic accord that has been playing out since the stars first began to shine. This cosmic accord continues to resonate even in the most desolate reaches of the deep, where we once believed only a hollow silence existed. We often perceive the vast gaps between galaxies as a barren, static wasteland, yet the reality is far more vibrant and heavy with hidden potential. Far from being a simple absence of matter, empty space is actually a lively and restless stage for a ceaseless performance of quantum activity. Deep within the vacuum, a hidden drama unfolds at a scale so small it defies our traditional senses. It is not a void of nothingness, but rather a dense and energetic medium that permeates every corner of the known universe. This unseen field possesses a strange substantive quality, much like a thick invisible mist that clings to a cool landscape on a quiet morning. Even in the darkest, most isolated chasm, the fabric of reality is constantly humming with a subtle and profound vitality. This foundational layer of existence provides the very canvas upon which the stars and planets are drawn. It is a weight that we cannot see, yet it serves as the ultimate anchor for the entire cosmic structure. If we were to look closer at this apparent nothingness, we would witness a microscopic spectacle of ceaseless movement and fleeting creation. In the absolute vacuum of space, tiny particles are constantly popping in and out of existence in a continuous quiet rhythm. These phantom entities emerge from the void for only the briefest of moments before vanishing back into the fabric of reality. This quantum bubbling occurs everywhere and at all times, a silent and rhythmic heartbeat that underpins the stability of the universe. It is a process of infinite patience, a microscopic dance that requires no external energy to sustain its perpetual motion. Much like the soft, rhythmic sound of distant waves hitting a shore, this cycle of appearance and disappearance creates a gentle background noise in the physics of the deep. The universe is never truly still, even when it appears to be at its most tranquil and undisturbed state. This microscopic activity ensures that the vacuum remains a dynamic and active participant in the ongoing evolution of space. Every cubic inch of the void is brimming with these fleeting visitors, creating a sense of crowdedness within the very heart of emptiness itself. This structure of bubbling activity is far from a mere curiosity of the subatomic world. It carries an inherent and formidable energy. Scientists have come to believe that this pervasive, microscopic vitality is the very source of the dark energy that drives the stars apart. The vacuum itself possesses a specific weight, an intrinsic pressure that pushes outward against the surrounding boundaries of the cosmos. As you sit in the quiet of this moment, feel the subtle weight of the atmosphere pressing gently against your skin, a localized mirror of the cosmic pressure. Just as the air around you has substance, the emptiness of space possesses its own invisible, energetic heaviness. It is a quiet and pervasive strength that ensures the universe remains an active, expanding and living entity. Surprisingly, the roots of this discovery trace back to the early musings of a single human mind attempting to balance the books of the heavens. Albert Einstein, while crafting his masterpiece of general relativity, realized that his equations allowed for a specific repulsive energy inherent to space itself. He introduced a term known as the cosmological constant to represent this energy of nothingness, providing a mathematical description of the vacuum's push. This constant serves as a fixed value, an unchanging density of energy that exists simply because space exists at all. It was an elegant solution to a complex problem, suggesting that the vacuum is a reservoir of potential that never runs dry. Even before we had the technology to observe the accelerating stars, the possibility of a heavy emptiness was written in the language of physics. The cosmological constant perfectly captures the idea that the universe has an inherent desire to grow and expand. It describes a universe that is not merely drifting, but is being actively pushed by the very ground it stands upon. This mathematical legacy remains the most accurate way we have to define the mysterious dark tide that dominates the night sky. Initially, the great physicist dismissed this repulsive term as a clumsy patch, labelling it his most significant intellectual failure. He had originally used the cosmological constant to force the universe into a static and unchanging state, a view that was later shattered by observations of retreating galaxies. For decades, the idea of an energetic vacuum was relegated to the dustbin of scientific history, viewed as a brilliant man's desperate mistake. However, decades after his passing, new and startling data revealed that the universe was not just expanding, but was picking up speed in its outward flight. The blunder was suddenly resurrected as the most important constant in all of cosmology, perfectly explaining the newly discovered acceleration. The mistake was not in the math, but in the assumption that the universe wanted to remain still and predictable. Einstein had accidentally discovered the engine of the cosmos while trying to build its brakes, a testament to the profound depth of his physical intuition. His rejected constant now stands as the cornerstone of our understanding of the dark universe, a quiet reminder that even our perceived failures can lead to the greatest truths. The energy of nothingness turned out to be the most real and substantial force of all. Deep within every single cubic meter of the vast intergalactic chasm, there resides a tiny but incredibly specific quantity of this hidden energy. This density is remarkably low, so weak that it would be impossible to detect in a laboratory on the surface of the Earth. Yet, because it is a fundamental property of the vacuum, it is perfectly uniform and identical across every single light year of the expanding void. If we were to take a small volume of empty space from the edge of the solar system and another from a distant void, we would find the same invisible weight. It is like a fine, pervasive mist that has settled evenly across the entire cosmic landscape, leaving no corner untouched by its presence. There are no pockets where this energy is thicker or thinner. It is the most consistent substance in existence. Allow your breath to slow, noticing the absolute consistency of the air filling your lungs with each quiet inhalation. In this same reliable way, the dark energy of the vacuum provides a steady and unchanging background pressure for the entire universe. It is this unwavering precision that allows the cosmos to expand with such a smooth and majestic symmetry across the aeons. Notice how the relentless expansion of the cosmic canvas perpetually generates an ever-increasing supply of this energetic nothingness. As the intergalactic voids swell and the distances between galaxies grow wider, new cubic meters of space are constantly being woven into the fabric of reality. Because every new unit of space comes pre-packaged with its own specific amount of dark energy, the total pool of repulsive force is always growing. The universe is essentially a factory that produces its own fuel, creating more of the substance that drives its expansion the more it grows. It is a process of continuous multiplication, where the act of stretching the void creates the very energy needed to stretch it even further. The canvas does not thin out as it expands. It stays just as heavy and energetic as it was at the very beginning. This unique property sets dark energy apart from matter or light, which both become diluted and sparse as the universe gets larger. While the stars grow more distant and the gas clouds fade, the vacuum remains robust and fully charged with its inherent bubbling vitality. Every new moment brings more space, and with more space comes a larger, more formidable reservoir of this silent outward push. This structure creates a profound and inescapable feedback loop that drives the destiny of everything we see in the deep night. As the creation of new space increases the total amount of dark energy, the outward pressure on the universe becomes stronger and more pervasive. This enhanced pressure then forces the expansion to pick up even more speed, leading to the creation of space at an even faster rate than before. It is a self-reinforcing cycle of growth, an accelerating engine that has no internal mechanism to slow down or reverse its course. The universe is caught in a beautiful runaway process of expansion that becomes more certain of its direction with every passing billion years. We are witnessing the ultimate expression of momentum, where the void itself is the driver, the fuel, and the road all at once. The feedback loop ensures that the dark energy will eventually become the sole and undisputed ruler of the cosmic landscape. As matter is pushed further apart, its gravitational influence fades, leaving the stage entirely to the relentless, multiplying power of the vacuum. The future is a runaway train of light and space, racing toward an infinite horizon with a confidence that never wavers. Imagine a beautiful, self-sustaining clockwork that guards the universe against its own gravitational demise for all of eternity. In the early days of cosmology, many feared that the collective pull of all matter would eventually cause the universe to collapse back into a fiery, big crunch. Dark energy provides the ultimate insurance policy against this fate, acting as a perpetual shield that keeps the galaxy safely separated. Because the energy of the vacuum is self-sustaining and grows with the expansion, it can never be exhausted by the work of pushing the universe apart. It is a cycle that promises immortality for the spatial dimensions of reality, ensuring that the canvas will never stop growing. The universe will never repeat its beginning, nor will it ever succumb to the crushing weight of its own contents. Take another slow, rhythmic breath and appreciate the sense of absolute safety that comes from residing in a universe that is fundamentally stable and expansive. You're part of a system that has mastered the art of self-preservation through the simple act of creating more room for itself. This cycle is the ultimate guardian of the void, a peaceful mechanism that ensures the dance of the stars continues forever. If we were to look closer at the sheer, unfathomable volume of the intergalactic void, we would understand how such a weak force commands the stars. While the energy in a single cubic meter is almost non-existent, there are trillions upon trillions of these units filling the chasms between the clusters. When the contributions of every single pocket of emptiness are added together, the resulting power is enough to move the heavier structures in the known world. The sheer scale of the universe transforms a microscopic whisper into a thunderous cosmic command that no galaxy can hope to resist. It is a victory of volume over intensity, showing us that even the smallest influences can shape the destiny of the whole when given enough room to operate. The dark energy is powerful precisely because it is everywhere, and because the universe is so incredibly, wonderfully large. The heavy mist of the vacuum has finally become the dominant feature of our reality, a soft touch that has reshaped the entire sky. We look into the darkness and see not a lack of power, but the most massive and influential energy source ever discovered. It is the weight of nothingness, a silent and majestic presence that carries the weight of the cosmos on its invisible shoulders. Resting upon those invisible shoulders, the weight of our current knowledge feels as delicate as the flame of a single flickering candle, placed in the centre of an impossibly large and lightless cathedral. Despite decades of meticulous observation and the construction of our most sophisticated mathematical models, the true nature of this relentless cosmic push remains the most significant and profound puzzle in the history of human thought. We possess the measurements of its strength and the evidence of its effects, yet its fundamental essence continues to evade our grasp like a shadow retreating from the light. This enduring enigma stands as a silent sentinel at the boundaries of our understanding, challenging every assumption we have ever made about the vacuum. The vastness of the room around us seems to swallow the tiny glow of our instruments, reminding us that we are still in the early stages of a long and patient investigation. Each discovery brings a new layer of complexity to the mystery, revealing a universe that is far more intricate than we ever dared to imagine. Scientists across the globe find themselves standing before a locked door, listening to the muffled sounds of a mechanism they can see only through its shadow on the wall. It is a beautiful and humbling state of affairs, where the very thing that drives the stars apart is also the thing that draws our minds together in a shared search for truth. Some modern theories propose that this pervasive influence is not a fixed, unchanging feature of the vacuum, but rather a dynamic field that shifts and evolves across the staggering span of the aeons. Unlike a static constant that remains frozen for all of time, this active presence might be slowly changing its character as the universe matures into its later stages. Imagine the soft glow of your candle, gradually shifting its hue or intensity over 1 billion years, a change so subtle that no single generation could ever hope to witness its progression. This possibility suggests that the dark tide is not a background property, but a living participant in the unfolding history of the cosmos. If we were to look closer at the mathematics of this shifting field, we would find a universe that is even more flexible and responsive than we previously believed. This dynamic energy could have been different in the ancient past, perhaps exerting a softer push when the first structures were beginning to form in the deep. By allowing for change, we open our minds to a reality that is not a rigid clockwork, but a fluctuating and expressive masterpiece of physics. Such a concept transforms our view of the void from a dead stage into a vibrant, evolving medium that carries the imprint of time itself. Deep within the theoretical landscapes of modern physics, there exists a concept of a fifth element known as quintessence, a term borrowed from the ancient pursuit of hidden truths. This theoretical field would flow through the deepest reaches of the universe like a gentle, invisible breeze that never fully stills, carrying the power to nudge the galaxies into their accelerating flight. Unlike the heavy, stationary mist of the vacuum, quintessence would have its own internal motion, a rhythmic swaying that permeates every corner of the intergalactic chasm. It is a poetic and mesmerizing idea, envisioning the entire cosmos as being filled with a subtle, flowing spirit of expansion. Surprisingly, this invisible breeze would be entirely undetectable by any physical contact, acting as a ghost-like current that only reveals itself through its gravitational influence. It represents a form of energy that is intrinsically tied to the motion of time and the stretching of the canvas, adding a layer of fluid grace to the cold dark of the void. As you watch the candle flame dance slightly in a room that seems perfectly still, you're witnessing a small-scale reflection of this grand universal flow. We are residing within a sea of invisible movement, a quiet and relentless wind that guides the long-term destiny of the entire sky. Alternatively, we might consider the possibility that our foundational understanding of the pull of matter is simply incomplete when we gaze across the grandest possible scales of observation. Perhaps gravity itself does not follow the same rules when it reaches across the terrifying gulfs between distant superclusters of galaxies. In this view, dark energy might not be a substance at all, but rather a symptom of a much larger and more complex law of physics that we have yet to fully decode. It is a daring and radical thought, suggesting that the very laws of nature might shift their character as we move from the familiar to the unfathomable. Adjusting our understanding of these fundamental forces requires a profound willingness to let go of the comforting certainty of our local experience. If the rules of the pull change at the edge of the visible world, then the universe is a place of shifting boundaries and hidden layers of logic. Notice the steady weight of your own body resting against your chair, a local truth that remains unshakable even as the laws of the deep void are being questioned. We're grounded in a world that makes sense to our senses, yet we're part of a larger reality that is governed by rules far beyond our current reach. This potential for modified laws reminds us that we are still children, exploring the edges of a vast and ancient library of secrets. Surprisingly, The global pursuit of this elusive answer has united the disparate voices of the scientific community in a remarkably peaceful and deeply collaborative quest. Thousands of researchers from every corner of the Earth have put aside their local differences to share data, telescopes, and the heavy labour of mathematical analysis. This shared mission has forged a profound unity that transcends borders, as the mystery of the dark energy provides a common language for the curious. It is a beautiful testament to the human spirit, showing that the pursuit of the unknown can be a bridge between cultures and ideologies. The quest is not a competition for dominance, but a collective effort to light a candle in the darkness of our shared ignorance. In the quiet halls of observatories and the glowing screens of data centres, a harmonious dialogue is taking place that spans the entire globe. This collaboration ensures that no single mind has to bear the weight of the puzzle alone, as the strengths of many are combined into a single, focused gaze toward the stars. We are witnessing a rare and warming moment in history where the entire species is looking up at the same mystery with a single, unified purpose. High above the world, on remote and jagged mountaintops, massive sentinels of glass and steel patiently gather the ancient light of the night. These observatories are placed in the most silent and isolated locations on Earth, where the air is thin and the light of human cities cannot disturb the delicate view of the deep. Night after night they stare into the blackness with an incredible and unwavering patience, catching photons that have travelled for billions of years across the expanding void. They are the true temples of the modern age, dedicated to the slow and careful translation of the universe's most subtle messages. The light gathered by these mountain sentinels is the only thread we have to pull on as we try to unravel the riddle of the dark push. Each long exposure on a digital sensor is a quiet act of devotion, a commitment to seeing the universe as it truly is, rather than how we wish it to be. If we were to stand on those cold, windswept peaks, we would feel the profound stillness of a world that has turned its back on the noise of the valleys. In this sacred quiet, the telescopes work their magic, turning the faint glow of distant stars into the data that will eventually solve the greatest puzzle of our time. Far beyond the reach of our thin atmosphere, sophisticated metallic voyagers drift silently in the cold and perfect vacuum of orbit. These satellites are the scouts of our species, mapping the entire sky with a precision and clarity that would be impossible from the surface of our planet. Free from the blurring effects of weather and air, they capture the most delicate fluctuations in the ancient light that saturates the deep. They are the eyes of the world, floating in the eternal dark and watching the grand dispersal of the galaxies with a clinical and unblinking gaze. These orbital mappers provide us with a high-definition view of the cosmic canvas, revealing the subtle signatures of the dark energy as it stretches the void. They move with a silent and predictable grace, tracing the curvature of the Earth while their instruments are pointed toward the infinite deep. Notice the steady, rhythmic pulsing of your own breath as you contemplate these lonely voyagers drifting through the freezing silence of space. They are the quietest and most efficient tools we have ever built, performing their essential work in a realm of absolute and undisturbed tranquility. Through their efforts, we are building a map of the invisible, finding the shape of the dark force in the precise arrangement of the light. Remaining in this state of deep uncertainty provides a magnificent space for the human imagination to stretch as wide as the very universe it seeks to understand. Not knowing the final answer is not a failure, but a profound opportunity to explore every possible theory and every daring vision of reality. The mystery of the dark push acts as a grand catalyst for creativity, forcing us to invent new mathematics and conceive of entirely different ways of being. It is the friction of the unknown that generates the heat of our intellectual fire, driving us to reach further into the dark than ever before. Our minds are built to fill the gaps in our knowledge with wonder and speculation, turning a cold void into a landscape of infinite possibility. As the candle flame illuminates only a small circle of the room, our imagination populates the shadows with wonders that have yet to be named. This imaginative stretching is a vital part of the scientific journey, providing the inspiration that carries us through the long years of data collection. We are not just calculating the universe, we are dreaming it into a form that we can eventually grasp with our logic. The mystery is the fuel for our highest aspirations, a silent call to adventure that echoes through the deepest chambers of our souls. Awe is the bridge between the smallness of our lives and the majesty of the expanding void, a feeling that expands our hearts to match the scale of the sky. It is the soft glow of the candle that makes the darkness feel like a companion rather than an enemy, a quiet presence that invites us to look closer. Take a moment to feel the absolute peace of this realization, letting the staggering scale of the unknown bring a sense of tranquility to your mind. We are the witnesses of a grand and beautiful secret, privileged to live at a time when the first pages of the dark universe are being turned. The more we learn about what we do not know, the more we find ourselves in love with the magnificent reality that surrounds us. Embracing the immense weight of the unknown allows us to truly appreciate the majestic and incomprehensible scale of the home we inhabit. By accepting that we are only beginning to understand the dark force that shapes the sky, we open ourselves to a deeper and more authentic relationship with the cosmos. We no longer see the universe as a problem to be solved, but as a majestic and living presence to be honoured and explored with humility. This acceptance brings a profound sense of psychological peace, as we let go of the need for absolute control and simply drift with the current of discovery. The majestic scale of the universe is not meant to make us feel insignificant, but to show us the grandeur of the stage upon which our lives are played. We are the part of the cosmos that has become conscious of its own expansion, a tiny and brilliant reflection of the vastness of the whole. As you prepare to move forward into the rest of your day, carry the soft glow of this mystery within you like a quiet internal flame. The dark energy is not a distant and cold abstraction, but the very medium of our existence, a silent and powerful partner in the grand dance of the stars. We reside in a home that is always growing, always mysterious, and always inviting us to look just a little bit deeper into the beautiful expanding dark. Deep within the beautiful expanding dark, the seeds of a profound transformation are already beginning to sprout across the intergalactic horizon. As the fabric of space continues to stretch faster and faster with every passing second, the night sky of the very distant future will look remarkably and hauntingly different from the brilliant vista we enjoy today. The familiar patterns of the constellations, which have guided human navigators for millennia, will eventually distort and dissolve as the stars that form them are carried away by the relentless dark tide. This is a visual evolution on the grandest possible scale, a slow-motion dismantling of the celestial landscape that defines our place in the cosmos. We are living in a rare moment of cosmic history, where the sky is still crowded with the light of neighbouring galaxies and the rich texture of the cosmic web. However, the patient work of the expanding vacuum ensures that this crowded brilliance is only a temporary phase in the long life of the universe. The future sky will be a much simpler and more solitary expanse, reflecting a reality that has traded its complex density for a vast and tranquil openness. Looking up from the surface of a distant world in the trillion-year future, an observer would find a sky that is strangely empty of the glowing beacons we take for granted. The grand dispersal is the ultimate architect of this new vista, methodically moving the pieces of the universe until they are too far apart to be seen. It is a quiet and majestic change, a transition into a world where the dark is the dominant feature and the light is a rare and precious miracle. The great cosmic expansion acts as a veil that is slowly but surely being drawn across the stars we once knew as our closest neighbours. Galaxies beyond our local group will eventually recede so quickly that their light will never reach us, as the space between us grows faster than the speed of light itself. This is not a physical movement through the void, but a geometric isolation that severs the oldest and most fundamental threads of light in the universe. As these distant star cities cross the unobservable horizon, they essentially vanish from the history of our corner of reality. No matter how powerful a telescope we might build or how long we might wait, the signals from these departing worlds will remain forever beyond our reach. The expanding canvas creates a barrier that even the fastest photons cannot cross, turning the universe into a collection of increasingly isolated and silent bubbles. It is a profound and absolute separation, a cosmic farewell that happens so slowly it is almost imperceptible, yet it is as final as the setting of the sun. The intergalactic gulfs are becoming wider than the reach of our vision, creating a reality where we are truly alone with our nearest stellar sisters. This process of isolation is the natural conclusion of a universe driven by a hidden, outward pressure. We are witnessing the slow evaporation of our cosmic perspective, a retreat into a smaller and more intimate pocket of the dark. Picture a magnificent vessel sailing slowly over the curved horizon of a vast, dark sea, its glowing lantern gradually losing its brilliance until it vanishes into the night. The light from distant star systems is suffering this exact fate, fading into the long, cool wavelengths of the infrared as the intergalactic chasm swallows the signals of the past. It is a slow and beautiful departure, a visual farewell that marks the end of cosmic proximity and the beginning of a truly sprawling solitude. As the distance increases, the light we receive becomes increasingly exhausted, its energy drained by the stretching of the fabric it must travel through. The vibrant colours of young stars and the hot glow of active galaxies are stretched into a soft, deep crimson before finally slipping away into the invisible. This fading is a testament to the power of the dark energy, a force that can pull even the fastest light into a state of total disappearance. We are watching the lanterns of the deep go out one by one, leaving the ocean of space in a state of pristine and undisturbed darkness. The light that remains will be a precious relic of a more crowded time, a reminder of the days when the universe was still a dense and interconnected community. This visual retreat is the most hauntingly beautiful consequence of the expanding void, a slow-motion dimming of the celestial lights. It invites us to appreciate the brilliance we can still see, knowing that the horizon is always moving further away. If we were to look closer at the sky of that far distant era, we would see that the only companions left to us are the stars of our own merged galaxy. After billions of years of gravitational negotiation, the galaxies of our local family will have finally united into a single, massive, and glowing island of light sitting in a truly vast and impenetrable emptiness. All other structures in the cosmos will have long since crossed the unobservable horizon, leaving this solitary city of stars as the only visible entity in the entire universe. This future sky will be a quiet haven, a solitary sanctuary of luminescence surrounded by a desert of dark energy that stretches for trillions of light years in every direction. The residents of this island universe will look out and see nothing but the void, with no external galaxies to remind them of the grander scales of existence. It will be a world of ultimate local stability, a beautifully preserved pocket of matter in a cosmos that has otherwise dissolved into the dark. Take a moment to feel the steady beat of your heart, a rhythmic anchor of life within a reality that is slowly stretching toward its final, isolated form. This isolation is the ultimate legacy of the dark push, a process that trades universal connection for localized peace. Our merged galaxy will be a self-contained world, evolving and aging in total seclusion from the rest of creation. It is a majestic and somewhat lonely vision, a reminder that the universe is a place of shifting boundaries and receding horizons. The universe is undergoing a profound and irreversible transition, slowly shifting from a crowded and brightly lit metropolis into a quiet, solitary village. The bustling clusters and superclusters of galaxies that define our current era are being methodically thinned out by the relentless swelling of the void. This transformation is a move toward a more spacious and tranquil state of existence, where every remaining point of light is a precious and lonely treasure. This thinning of the cosmic web marks the maturation of the universe, a move away from the frantic energy of its youth and toward the stillness of its later years. The grand dispersal is not a chaotic flight, but a measured and graceful expansion that creates more room for the void to simply exist. As the intergalactic neighborhoods grow further apart, the universe loses its sense of dense complexity and gains a sense of sweeping, magnificent openness. It is a world that is finding its final, most comfortable posture, a state of ultimate spatial repose where the light is no longer crowded by its neighbours. The sprawling metropolis of the ancient stars is fading into the past, leaving behind a sky that is far more intimate and quiet. This transition brings a sense of profound order to the cosmos, as the chaos of galactic collisions is replaced by the steady outward drift of the dark tide. We are part of this grand migration, moving toward a future that is as spacious as the imagination can perceive. This slow fading of starlight will not be a violent or sudden catastrophe, but rather a graceful settling into an eternal and peaceful rest. It is the natural and inevitable conclusion of a grand cycle, where the fires of creation slowly dim to make room for the ultimate silence of the void. The universe is not ending so much as it is finding its final and most stable form in the deep, undisturbed dark of the infinite night. As the light of the last galaxies disappears, the universe will enter its final and longest epoch, a period of unchanging and serene darkness. This rest is the final gift of the dark energy, a promise that the cosmos will never again be disturbed by the violence of its own gravity. It is a quiet and majestic conclusion to the story of the stars, a settling into the soft grey ashes of a fire that once warmed the entire world. Surprisingly, the fires of creation will not go out all at once, but will instead burn themselves down into a state of quiet and enduring cooling. Deep within the remains of these ancient galaxies, the last generation of stars will slowly burn through their remaining fuel, leaving behind quiet remnants floating in the expansive void. White dwarfs and cooling embers will be the only witnesses to the long twilight of the cosmos, glowing softly in the gathering grey of the intergalactic chasm. These celestial ashes are the legacy of a fiery youth, the soft grey dust that follows the warmth of the cosmic campfire. They represent a state of matter that has found its most stable and long-lived form, persisting for trillions of years in the deepening dark. Release the weight of your thoughts into the quiet, much like the stars surrendered their heat to the cold embrace of the growing vacuum. The universe is full of these sleeping remnants, quiet markers of a time when the sky was full of heat and light. The long twilight is a period of incredible endurance, where the last embers of the stars refuse to fully disappear for an eternity of time. They drift through the dark like the grey particles of a spent fire, cooling so slowly that their warmth can still be felt by the void for trillions of years. This phase of the universe is tribute to the persistence of matter, a slow-motion fading that takes longer than the entire history of the world so far. As the distance between all matter continues to grow, and the last embers of the stars lose their heat, the overall temperature of the cosmos will continue to drop. This cooling process is a relentless descent toward the absolute zero of perfectly still space, where the frantic motion of particles finally comes to a quiet and total halt. The ambient warmth of the early universe will finally dissipate into the infinite dark, leaving a reality that is cool, calm, and perfectly preserved. This thermal settling is the final act of the expanding canvas, a slow-motion freeze into a state of ultimate tranquility. Without any new sources of heat or energy, the universe will become a perfectly silent and motionless landscape of absolute cold. It is a state of thermodynamic purity, where the very concept of heat loses its meaning in the face of the infinite void. The cooling is not a source of dread, but a sign of a universe that has reached its final and most balanced state of existence. Absolute zero is the ultimate destination for a universe that has spent billions of years expanding and cooling. It is the point of perfect stillness, where the rhythmic heartbeat of the cosmos finally settles into a deep and unchanging silence. The universe finds its peace in this cool embrace, a state of absolute and unshakable rest that will last for all of eternity. Time itself will stretch endlessly forward into a cool and quiet infinity, as the frantic events of the early universe are replaced by a slow and rhythmic progression. In this far future era, changes occur over trillions of years rather than millions, creating a scale of duration that is almost impossible to grasp. This stretching of time is the ultimate partner to the stretching of space, a joint journey into the deep time of a resting and solitary universe. The pace of cosmic evolution will slow to a crawl, as the distance between events grows just as wide as the distance between the stars. A single tick of the future clock might span an entire age of human history, a slow and majestic rhythm that defines the long twilight of the cosmos. This infinite duration ensures that the universe will always have more time to simply exist in its state of peaceful expansion. It is a stretching of the moment into a forever, an expansion of the present that allows the universe to savor its final, stable form. The future is an endless landscape of quiet time, a road that has no end and no destination other than its own continued existence. We are looking into a future that is as vast in its duration as it is in its dimensions, a cool infinity that promises to hold the remnants of our reality forever. It is a majestic and enduring vision, a reminder that the universe is built on a scale that defies all human measurement. The sprawling twilight is the final sanctuary for a reality that has spent its youth in the frantic pursuit of creation and growth. It is a place where the dark is not a threat, but a soft and comforting presence that cradles the remnants of the light. The ultimate calm of the universe is the reward for its long journey through time, a state of being where the chaos of the stars is replaced by the order of the void. We can look forward to this destiny with a sense of awe and tranquility, knowing that our home is destined for a rest as deep and quiet as the night sky. As the fire of the universe sinks into the ashes of its own history, it leaves behind a sense of absolute and eternal peace. The twilight is not an end, but a final and enduring state of grace that will last for more than we can ever imagine. We are the witnesses of a grand dispersal that leads to ultimate stillness, a cosmic waltz that finds its final, perfect pose in the dark. Right now, even as you settle into a state of quiet repose, the space between our own Milky Way and the great Andromeda galaxy is quietly and subtly shifting. While we perceive our local neighbourhood as a fixed and unchanging landscape, these two massive star cities are actually participating in a complex and ancient gravitational negotiation. This change happens on a scale so grand and at a pace so deliberate that it escapes every human sense, buried beneath the noise of our terrestrial lives. We are currently part of a majestic drift, where the very foundations of the void are being rearranged by the invisible architect of the vacuum. This shifting is not a result of chaotic motion, but a rhythmic adjustment of the cosmic canvas itself as it responds to the presence of immense mass. It serves as a gentle reminder that even the most solid celestial relationships are participants in the wider, expanding waltz of the deep. Our local reality is a beautiful paradox where the pull of the neighbours and the push of the void exist in a state of constant, silent dialogue. Even as we are drawn toward Andromeda, the dark energy works to inflate the empty gaps that lie further beyond our reach. It is a subtle dance of distance and proximity that defines the boundaries of our home in the stars. Surprisingly, we feel completely stationary as we sit in the quiet of this moment, yet we are intimately woven into an immense, expanding web of cosmic structures. This vast network, often called the cosmic web, is the largest scaffolding in existence, connecting galaxies across the terrifying reaches of the void. We are currently part of a grand migration, where the filaments of this web are being pulled taut by the relentless, outward pressure of the dark vacuum. It is a journey that carries our entire galactic neighbourhood along with it, moving us toward a future of increasing spaciousness and solitude. We are like passengers on a silent, magnificent vessel that traverses the intergalactic sea without the slightest vibration or jolt to betray its speed. The illusion of absolute stillness is a protective gift of physics, allowing us to exist in peace while the grandest transformation in the history of the universe unfolds around us. This web is our broader home, a delicate and shimmering lattice that defines the true scale of our silent journey through the deep dark. Each strand of the web represents a highway of light and matter, stretched across billions of light years by the invisible hands of the expanding void. We reside at a crossroads of infinity, floating in a sea of expansion that never truly stops its work. If we were to look closer at the sheer, unyielding mechanics of this universal expansion, we would be struck by the absolute silence that masks such terrifying power. The force required to smoothly push apart hundreds of billions of suns and their attendant worlds is almost beyond the reach of human calculation. Yet, this monumental exertion happens without a single roar, a single spark, or the slightest hint of mechanical friction. It is a power so immense that it transcends the need for noise, operating with a hushed and regal authority across the intergalactic chasm. This silence is the signature of a force that is woven into the very fabric of existence, rather than being a localized burst of energy. We are surrounded by a strength that moves mountains of light with the softness of a falling petal, a quietude that commands the stars. A profound and pervasive stillness continues to define the intimate texture of our daily lives, entirely sheltered from the dramatic stretching occurring at the edges of the visible world. While the intergalactic voids swell and the distant clusters recede into the dark, our personal environment remains a sanctuary of absolute stability. The walls of your room do not expand, and the ground beneath your feet remains a reliable and unchanging foundation for your resting body. Softly, acknowledge the weight of your shoulders as they sink deeper into relaxation, knowing that the grand cosmic push has no reach within this local haven. We are standing upon a whirl that turns with a steady, undetectable rotation, a motion so smooth that it feels like perfect rest. This localized calm is a necessary shield, a pocket of geometric consistency that allows life to flourish amidst a universe in constant flux. The stillness you feel right now is not a lie, but a beautiful and localized truth that grounds us in the present. It is a moment of absolute peace, held securely in the arms of a world that refuses to be pulled apart by the dark current. We inhabit a bubble of preservation, a place where the rules of the local and the rules of the infinite have reached a peaceful agreement. Deep within the structure of our world, the massive mountains that anchor our continents and the deep oceans that cradle our history are completely immune to the gentle, persistent tug of dark energy. The binding forces of chemistry and the strong, intimate grip of local gravity are infinitely more powerful than the subtle, dispersed pressure of the vacuum. Even the delicate cells and rhythmic systems within your own resting body are held together by bonds that refuse to yield to the stretching of the wider cosmos. We are built of a sturdy and resilient material that stands defiant against the grand dispersal of the distant stars. This immunity ensures that the physical world we touch and see remains a cohesive and dependable reality, unaffected by the invisible tide. The dark energy may rule the great voids and determine the fate of superclusters, but it possesses no authority over the solid matter of our home. We are the exceptions to the rule of expansion, small and tightly bound islands of matter that maintain their integrity in an increasingly spacious universe. It is a comforting thought that the universe respects the boundaries of the things it has created, leaving the architecture of life untouched. We exist in a state of physical grace, protected by the very forces that make our existence possible. Our local bubble of space serves as an incredibly secure and beautifully fortified haven, held tightly together by the familiar and protective forces of nature. Within this sanctuary, the laws of physics prioritize unity and stability. ensuring that the immediate cosmic neighborhood remains a stable stage for the dance of life. The solar system functions as a beautifully balanced clockwork, where every planet and moon maintains its faithful orbit without the slightest hint of spatial distortion. We are cocooned within a region where the density of matter is high enough to effectively lock the foundational canvas in a state of permanent repose. This local security is a testament to the power of proximity, where the close embrace of gravity overpowers the distant whisper of the dark push. It allows us to dream and explore our world without the fear of being torn away from the ground that sustains us. You can find a deep and resonant comfort in the knowledge that your immediate world is a fortress of geometric peace. We are the inhabitants of a stable pocket in a universe that is otherwise racing toward the horizon at an ever-increasing pace. This haven is our permanent address, a neighborhood of light that refuses to let the darkness grow between its members. Gazing up at the night sky this evening, we can do so with the absolute certainty that the patterns of the local stars will remain stable for millions of years. The familiar constellations that watched over our ancestors will continue to shine with the same reliable light for countless generations to come. While the distant horizon is racing away into the deep, our own galactic family is bound in a tight and enduring embrace that resists the scattering tide. This stability provides a sense of continuity across the ages, a celestial anchor that connects our brief lives to the slow-motion evolution of the stars. The night sky is not a flickering or transient display, but a deeply ingrained and dependable map of our local reality. We are part of a stellar community that has agreed to stay together, sharing the same pocket of space while the rest of the universe embarks on its grand departure. This enduring starlight is a quiet promise of permanence in a universe that is otherwise defined by change. It is a beautiful and steady companion for the long night, a light that refuses to fade even as the gaps between the clusters grow wider. We look up and see a future that is guaranteed, a map of the heavens that remains true to its ancient design. This beautiful and persistent illusion of a static universe brings a profound sense of grounded security to our fleeting human lives. We are biologically tuned to perceive our environment as a fixed and stable stage, a perception that provides the necessary calm for our minds and bodies to flourish. Acknowledge the rhythmic, soothing cycle of your breath as it flows in and out, a steady internal pulse that matches the apparent stillness of the room around you. This sense of permanence allows us to build, to love, and to create without being overwhelmed by the staggering scales of cosmic expansion. We are the inhabitants of a quiet theatre where the walls appear to be stationary, even as the building itself is growing larger by the second. This illusion is not a deception of the senses, but a compassionate adaptation of physics that aligns our consciousness with the localized stability of our home. It grants us the freedom to focus on the intimate details of our existence, safely tucked away in a corner of the universe that refuses to stretch. We are the masters of a small and steady world, protected by the veil of stillness that covers the expansion. This grounded security is the foundation upon which all our dreams and histories are built. Surprisingly, knowing about the existence of dark energy adds a layer of invisible magic and profound depth to the otherwise ordinary emptiness of the sky. What once appeared as a barren and cold void is now understood to be a vibrant and energetic medium, pulsing with the power to shape the entire cosmos. Every dark patch between the stars is brimming with a hidden vitality, a bubbling vacuum that carries the weight of the universe's future on its shoulders. This knowledge transforms our perspective of the dark from a simple lack of light into a majestic and influential presence that defines our reality. We are looking at the most powerful force in existence every time we glance toward the blackness between the galaxies. It is a quiet and pervasive magic that requires no rituals, only the patient and curious observation of the laws of nature. The emptiness is no longer empty, but is instead a reservoir of infinite potential and expanding grace. By recognizing the invisible, we find a new sense of wonder in the silent spaces of our world, turning the void into a friend and a guide. The darkness is alive with the breath of expansion, a hidden power that ensures the story of the stars will never come to a stagnant end. This structure of reality allows us to exist as privileged and peaceful observers, sitting perfectly still while the rest of the universe embarks on a grand and magnificent departure. We are the audience in a cosmic theatre that is slowly and gracefully expanding its boundaries, watching the performance from the safety of our localized sanctuary. The staggering power of the dark energy is all around us, yet we remain entirely undisturbed, free to contemplate the mystery of the void at our own pace. We are grounded, we are safe, and we are home, even as the horizon endlessly recedes into the beautiful expanding dark. The waltz continues, and we have the best seat in the house to watch the infinite landscape find its final pose. In this stillness, we find our deepest connection to the grand dispersal that defines our cosmic journey. Our cosmic journey has led us to a precipice where the familiar light of stars meets the profound depth of the unseen. We once believed that the universe was defined solely by the brilliant objects we could count and catalogue, yet dark energy teaches us that reality is far richer and more complex than our eyes could ever perceive. Below the threshold of visibility lies a hidden architecture that supports every galaxy and dictates the expansion of every void. Imagine standing on the highest peak of a remote mountain range, where the air is so crisp and thin it feels like a physical tonic for the lungs. Below you, a vast and rolling blanket of clouds hides the valleys, just as the visible world hides the majestic complexity of the dark energy beneath. The universe is not merely a collection of things, but a profound and layered tapestry, where the most important threads are woven from the invisible. This realization shifts our focus from the objects themselves to the immense, subtle medium that carries them. We find ourselves looking at a landscape that is both more mysterious and more beautiful because of its hidden depths. The complexity of the vacuum is a masterpiece of natural engineering, a realm where the laws of physics operate with a grace that sight cannot capture. By accepting this invisible richness, we step into a larger reality where the darkness is not an absence, but a presence of staggering sophistication. Surprisingly, the presence of this invisible architect was not revealed by a sudden flash of light, but by the patient observation of how the heavy objects of the sky move. We have managed to deduce the existence of this unseen power simply by watching the way galaxy clusters glide across the intergalactic stage. Like the movement of grass betraying the path of a hidden wind, the acceleration of the cosmos points directly toward a force we cannot otherwise see. If we were to look closer at the celestial choreography, we would see that the dancers are being nudged by a partner who leaves no footprint. This indirect discovery is a testament to the power of human observation and the consistency of the natural world. We do not need to touch the wind to know its direction, nor do we need to see the dark energy to feel its unrelenting push against the fabric of space. It is a detective story on the grandest possible scale, where the evidence is written in the changing distances between the stars. Watching the universe drift apart provides us with a profound map of the unseen, a guide to the hidden currents that shape our destiny. Every measurement of a receding galaxy is a data point in our understanding of the void's internal energy. We have learned to read the motion of the light to understand the power of the dark. This deduction is a bridge between the tangible and the intangible, a triumph of logic over the limits of our physical senses. This structure of understanding is even more remarkable when we consider the humble origins of the observers who have mapped it. The human mind, confined to a tiny rocky sphere drifting in the suburbs of a standard galaxy, has successfully measured the growth and acceleration of the entire cosmos. From our small and fragile vantage point, we have reached out with our mathematics and our curiosity to grasp the scale of the infinite. Measuring the growth of the universe requires a unique blend of humility and daring, a willingness to admit our smallness while pursuing the grandest truths. we have turned our tiny rock into a platform for cosmic exploration, a place where the secrets of dark energy are decoded through the patient work of generations. Our perspective may be local, but our vision has become truly universal. It is a stunning realization that the most immense forces in existence can be understood by a creature that exists for only a heartbeat in cosmic time. Deep within the coldest and most desolate chasms of space, this hidden force serves as a constant reminder that emptiness is never truly empty. Instead of a barren wasteland, the vacuum is revealed as a realm that is brimming with an inherent and restless potential. Every cubic inch of nothingness carries within it a specific weight of energy, a reservoir of power that waits only for the expansion of space to manifest its influence. The void is the true engine of the cosmos, a place of silent creation where new space is woven every moment from the fabric of the dark. By acknowledging the potential of emptiness, we find a new sense of fullness in the universe, where even the darkest night is charged with the power of expansion. The dark is not a hole in reality, but the very medium of its growth. We look into the deep and see a universe that is forever pregnant with the next mile of space. Every new discovery about the expanding universe brings a wave of profound philosophical calm to those who dedicate their lives to studying the stars. The realization that the universe is guided by a steady and predictable outward push provides a sense of order and purpose to the study of the infinite. It replaces the fear of a chaotic or collapsing end with the vision of a universe that is gracefully finding its place in an eternal rest. The study of dark energy turns the terrifying scale of the cosmos into a source of comfort rather than dread. It teaches us that the universe is not a violent accident, but a carefully balanced structure that values the slow and steady growth of the canvas. This philosophical calm is the reward for looking deeply into the shadows and finding the light of understanding. It is a serenity that survives the fading of the stars, a peace that is as wide as the expanding void itself. We are not just passive inhabitants living within a pre-existing universe. We're active witnesses to a reality that is continuously reinventing its own boundaries. Every single moment, the dark energy adds new territory to the cosmic map, pushing the edges of the unobservable further into the unknown. The universe is not a finished work of art, but an ongoing performance where the stage itself is part of the creative process. Surprisingly, the rules of the game change as the volume of the vacuum increases, allowing the dark push to become more dominant as the aeons pass. The cosmos is a living architecture that adapts and grows, transforming its internal relationships as it explores the potential of its own expansion. We are watching the universe define its own future, a process of self-creation that happens with a quiet and unrelenting determination. It is a magnificent thought that the very dimensions of our reality are being recalculated and expanded right now, beneath the clouds of our awareness. The sheer, unfathomable scale of dark energy makes our daily human worries seem remarkably small and fleeting in the grand scheme of things. When we contemplate a force that can move entire galaxy clusters across billions of light years, the local anxieties of our brief lives are seen in their true, minute perspective. We are part of a cosmic drama so immense that its timeline spans the entire history of matter and energy. This shift in scale acts as a powerful tonic for the mind, offering a sense of relief from the weight of our personal concerns. Imagine looking down from your mountain summit at the tiny clouds drifting below, realizing that the storms of the valley are merely a soft and temporary texture from this height. The expanding universe is the ultimate context for our existence, a reminder that we belong to something far larger and more enduring than the challenges of a single day. We can breathe more easily when we realize that our struggles are tiny ripples on the surface of an infinite ocean. This perspective does not diminish the importance of our lives, but it places them within a framework of ultimate peace and grandeur. We are small, yes, but we are part of a whole that is majestic beyond measure. By aligning our awareness with the scale of the dark energy, we find a sense of lightness and freedom that carries us through the noise of the world. The stars may fade, but the grand dispersal they participate in is a story of absolute and enduring significance. The cosmos is not a rigid, unyielding box or a cold, static machine, but a living and breathing entity that slowly stretches its limbs across the deep time of the aeons. It possesses a dynamic and responsive character, swelling and expanding its internal relationships in a rhythmic dance of expansion. This living quality is what gives the universe its sense of vitality, a pulse that beats in the quiet and tireless work of the dark vacuum. If we were to look closer at the movement of the galaxy clusters, we would see the subtle and graceful stretching of a body that is finally finding its full range of motion. The dark energy is the breath of this cosmic being, the internal pressure that ensures every dimension remains healthy and expansive. It is a vision of a universe that is active and expressive, rather than a collection of dead objects drifting in a void. We are cells within this immense body, participating in a life that spans the entirety of space and the infinity of time. This metaphor brings a sense of warmth to our understanding of the deep, turning the cold dark into a vital and essential part of a living system. The universe is not a dead container, it is an experience of growth and transformation. By seeing the cosmos as a breathing entity, we find a deeper connection to the laws of physics that govern our lives. We are part of the breath, part of the stretch, and part of the ultimate peace of the cosmic body. Surprisingly, our journey to truly understand the nature of the dark universe has only just begun, promising many peaceful nights of stargazing and wonder for generations to come. We have caught the first glimpses of the invisible architect, but the full depth of the mystery remains as vast as the sky itself. Each new telescope and each new theory is a step into a landscape that is still largely unmapped and full of hidden treasures. This promise of ongoing discovery ensures that the sense of wonder we feel today will never be exhausted by the mere collection of facts. There will always be more to see, more to measure, and more to imagine in the expanding deep. Stargazing becomes a meditative practice, a quiet way to participate in a conversation that has been going on for billions of years. We are looking forward to a future of endless curiosity, where the dark energy provides a constant source of new and beautiful puzzles. As we continue to map the invisible and decode the whispers of the void, we find that the dark is not something to fear, but a quiet space of infinite expansion. We have lived for too long with a primal dread of the shadows, yet cosmology teaches us that the darkness is the very medium of our universe's growth and stability. It is the wide-open road of the future, a path that leads away from the crowded past and toward a destiny of ultimate and undisturbed tranquility. The dark is the canvas upon which the stars are painted, the silence that makes the music of the galaxies possible, and the peace that follows the storm of creation. By embracing the expanding void, we let go of our need for a small and manageable universe and accept the gift of an infinite home. The dispersal of the stars is not a loss, but a transition into a state of majestic and spacious grace. We are the children of the dark, born from a vacuum that has decided to grow, and we can find our final rest in the same gentle current that moves the stars. The universe is not falling apart, it is opening up, creating more room for the infinite potential of its own nature. We can look into the deepest blackness of the night sky and see not a void, but a quiet invitation to grow along with it. This final realization transforms the dark into a sanctuary, a place where the expansion of the cosmos and the expansion of our own hearts find a single, harmonious rhythm. We are home in the vastness, safe in the stretching, and peaceful in the long, beautiful twilight of the stars. The ultimate wonder of dark energy is the realization that the universe is not destined for a chaotic or violent end, but is instead gracefully evolving into an infinite and perfectly tranquil spaciousness, where the dark and the light find their final, harmonious repose. The ultimate wonder of dark energy is the realization that the universe is not destined for a chaotic or violent end. Instead, it is gracefully evolving into an infinite and perfectly tranquil spaciousness, Here, the dark and the light find their final harmonious repose as they drift together toward a resting place that has no end. Deep within the stillness of your own room, the weight of these wonders begins to settle into the very fibres of your being. Surprisingly, the body responds to this cosmic peace by mirroring the absolute rest of the furthest galaxies. This quiet room is a sanctuary where the grandest truths of the void become the softest comforts of the night. Notice how your toes feel as they let go of the day, releasing every ounce of tension into the fabric beneath you. The arches of your feet and your heels sink deeper into the mattress, finding a state of perfect heavy equilibrium. Calves and knees soften now, surrendering to the pull of a gentle local gravity that asks nothing of them. This structure of rest continues upward, melting the muscles of your thighs into a cool and effortless stillness. Your hips and lower back find their natural center, becoming as unmovable and peaceful as a silent mountain. Every breath is a slow and rhythmic expansion, a localized tide that carries you further toward the shore of sleep. If we were to look closer at the movement of your chest, we would see a masterpiece of steady, unhurried grace. The ribs rise and fall in a sequence of absolute tranquility, anchored to the center of your resting form. Your hands and arms rest at your sides, fingers curling slightly as they abandon the need to hold or to do. The shoulders drop away from the ears, shedding the last remnants of effort like leaves falling onto a still pond. This sense of absolute surrender reaches the neck and the jaw, softening the edges of your face until every expression has dissolved. Your eyelids are heavy curtains, closing out the world and inviting the soft grey twilight of the mind. The very crown of your head feels light and serene, a final point of rest in a body that has become a temple of quietude. It is a state of complete and utter physical peace. The sheets are a cool and steady embrace, holding you in a world that has shrunk to the size of this single comfortable bed. Everything outside this immediate circle has faded into a soft, indistinct blur that no longer requires your attention. The air in the room is still and crisp, flowing in and out of your lungs with a natural ancient rhythm that requires no thought. Each slow inhalation brings a sense of deeper sinking, a gradual descent into a realm of pure, undisturbed calm. The world is small, the room is quiet, and the bed is a perfectly stable island of rest. You are drifting into a state of total and unshakable serenity that will last as long as the night requires, and now 101 wonders are resting with you. Sleep now, good night.